What are those situations where you're like, man, if I had maybe made that left turn instead of a right turn, I might be in a better position right now.
Yes.
Or you might be in a worse position. That's the beauty of imagination and of things that will never happen.
Right. Which is good to talk about.
You don't know what might have happened. You might, if I hadn't married her, she would have took all my money. Right. Well, maybe you would have married somebody who would have killed you.
Right.
Welcome to the 7997 podcast. We are Chris and Jackie.
Jackie and Chris.
Hoping to build a stronger connection between the two of us and hopefully with you.
With you.
And the best way to strengthen that connection with us is to like, share, subscribe, follow, all those things. I'm sorry, I got a little excited.
We really need you to calm down.
Because like in the moment when you make that connection, like, oh, wait a minute, I could actually flip this into the little promo section right now. I just got excited.
Oh,
all this happens in the moment. We have a couple of notes on the phone, but it's just us, flowing.
For real, it's literally just a couple of bullet points
off the top of the dome.
The rest of it is just
just let it happen. Let it go. So today we're talking about second chances.
Oh my, this is gonna be good.
What would you do if you had a chance to do it all over again?
Stop it.
If you knew now what you knew, didn't know then.
Mm-hmm. Hindsight kind of situation.
2020.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
What are those situations where you're like, man, if I had maybe made that left turn instead of a right turn, I might be in a better position right now.
Yes.
Or you might be in a worse position. That's the beauty of imagination and of things that will never happen.
Right. Which is good to talk about.
You don't know what might have happened. You might, if I hadn't married her, she would have took all my money. Right. Well, maybe you would have married somebody who would have killed you.
Right.
It might not have worked out better.
It happens.
I mean, sorry for whatever you're going through. Mm-hmm. I hope that your second chance, as you imagine it, works out better than maybe it would have in real life.
Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't.
Sometimes it doesn't.
But this kind of conversation, though, especially if it's a good, healthy kind of a dialogue, not a excuse to dump or throw people under buses.
There's going to be some buses rolling through here.
I'm talking now.
There's going to MTA, transit authority is coming through with a bus.
Healthy dialogue, and we're not using it to throw other ones under buses.
If you get thrown on the bus, it is because it is Lena Anderson's fault from Sweet Bean Travels.
What'd she do?
The other day when we were talking to her, she was talking about, if you got married a second time or, had it again, would you get a prenuptial agreement?
We did chat about that.
Well, let's start with you. Let's ask you that question.
Okay.
Knowing what you know now of our marriage and our relationship, would you have protected the things that you had at the time with a prenuptial agreement to make sure that I wouldn't get access to it?
I had nothing to protect. But I'm going to tell you this, though. I don't know if it's going to be deep or not, but you know what? We do have a future to protect.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing for me, myself, and
I feel a bus coming down the street.
It might be. I might hear it. You better get your 8 pesos together. Get your bus ticket. But I think some major ones, and the first thing that jumps off my head is actually probably the first real major argument we had in our marriage was really about finances.
Isn't it always about finances?
I mean, not necessarily, but
it's really not a whole lot else to argue about sometimes.
Normally, if you broke or if you got a whole lot, you're going to argue about
either
finances.
way, you're going to argue.
But, just not having a whole lot, it can be helpful and also, like I said, it can hurt at the same time. Yeah. But I think just having financial literacy, we've got to do a better job of having financial literacy. And especially as young people, and especially coming out that American culture of tons of debt.
Because they get you in college with them credit cards.
Correct.
And this is what, she hadn't told the whole story yet, but this is what she's referring to is I came into the marriage with a lot of credit card debt that I did not disclose and didn't even think about disclosing. Because, it was just debt. It wasn't, the things that you don't think about coming into a marriage, there's a million of them. And that's where, having counseling, having good friends and parents who can think about the things that you're not thinking about is always helpful. But like maybe it's not the need of a prenuptial agreement, but maybe it's a financial disclosure statement.
Correct.
Before you get married. What all you got on your books? What all I got on my books?
Yeah.
And do we need to clear this up before we get married?
Before you jump the broom.
Yeah.
And for anyone who's listening, doesn't know what that terminology means. That means before you get married.
Yeah.
It's a African American tradition.
Jump in the broom.
Jump in the broom. So I definitely would say that financial literacy piece is paramount.
Yeah.
Because you do want to have an understanding. And the funny thing is, though, money can be tied up into different areas of life. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because it could be, I'm not saying all the time, right? Just like with health and stuff like that, it's like, well, are you out of control? Do you not have self-discipline? You know what I mean? Why are you in debt? Why, just to have those conversations. Right. And then, maybe you are willing to become a partner in that debt because when you marry that person, you're going to marry their debt, And so maybe you can say, okay, no, it's fine. 5,000, 10,000, 20,000. I understand that debt was, because you had to live. So you lived off of credit or you had to get yourself through college. I'm willing to partake in helping you pay that off. And then some people will say, I want to be with you, but not your debt. Once you paid it off, then we can go ahead and do that, and get married. And I think that should be a very non-emotional, I don't know if that's a word, unemotional. It should be an unemotional conversation. Because you're not telling the person that I don't want you. I just don't want to have that burden, because debt is a burden.
It sure is.
It's a huge responsibility.
A never-ending, unending. You pay it off and then you go get some more.
Oh my gosh, it's crazy. Like when President Obama got in office, I think he said, so was it 08, 09? Within the next maybe 2 to 4 years, that's when they paid off their debt.
Right.
Come on.
You were a senator?
She was a lawyer. Mrs. Obama was a lawyer. He's a senator. You know what I mean? They have these Ivy League degrees, like 2 or 3.
Y'all should be getting paid. Y'all should have money to be paying this stuff off.
But of course, they have enough money to live and, to have a nice living.
But they were living in Chicago.
And didn't have enough money to pay off that debt until they became president and first lady. Yeah. And so that speaks volumes. Yeah. So definitely having financial literacy.
Yeah. So I would say for myself, again, I didn't have nothing but debt. Yeah. So I don't know that I would necessarily look at a prenuptial agreement as far as debt, but I will say, and I don't know if a lot of people out there feel the same way I do about this, but I would want an agreement that says the way that you are right now, either I might want it to change or you might want it to stick and stay, or you might want it to be different, but like, you were a very independent person as a single person, and I didn't realize you were independent because you had to be. I thought that's just who you were. And then when you get married, slowly
when we got married,
slowly but surely, little by little, you just start giving away some of that independence. You're like, Chris, I need you to do that. Oh, Chris, I need you to do that. And I need you to, like, you didn't need me for all this stuff before. What had happened was. So that's what I would say I would want in an agreement, is to say, it really didn't have to be an agreement. It has to be, again, a disclosure. I need a disclosure statement.
That what?
Up front, that I'm only independent because I ain't got nobody else to do it for me.
Wow.
But once I got you locked down and you're going to be able to do it for me, all that independence is going to go right out the window. I ain't Mary J. Blige no more. That's all I'm saying. Can I know what's going to happen? What are you going to change? Because, you always tell people you could be living together for 15 years. The day that you go down to that courthouse or you walk down that aisle and you get married, something is going to change.
Yeah, a change is going to come.
Something inside of you is going to spark. It's going to snap. And behaviors are going to be different for some reason.
Well, so this is the thing. I think you're asking for the undeliverable. I really do. I think that you think that people can see down the road in a specific manner to be able to tell you A, B, C.
Absolutely.
We're going to skip, D, E, and F, and we're going to go right on over to I, J. We might even, hip hop and skip.
Where's this metaphor going?
P going.
Are you spelling something or are you just going through the alphabet?
I think that you think that people understand where the next step is going to be. And I don't believe that, especially when it comes to relationships like this, that it is that way. I think that you can only do your best in situations like that. Like it could even be, for example, when you're starting a new job, you're talking to the people and you're asking questions, right? So if you're going out for a job, you're supposed to be asking them questions too. They interviewing you the way you interviewing them,
exactly,
right? So, but you're going to hit a wall or a ceiling, or you're going to exhaust your level of understanding.
Basically, you're saying that you don't know what questions to ask.
You don't know what you don't know.
So all I'm asking was for you in the moment
to
be self-aware and say, I am this independent person because I have to be. It's not necessarily looking at down the road or down into the future. It is being self-aware in that moment to know, hey, I am this way right now because I have to be.
I didn't even know that. Was that like a turn on to you? Or like, was that?
Absolutely.
That
I don't want to and you're not a high maintenance woman by any means. I'm not going to throw you under that bus. It's not deserving.
Yeah.
But I am not someone who likes a high maintenance woman. I like someone who is independent, someone who feels like a partner. And that is very important to me because I want it to be an equal footing. I want you to bring, I don't want to say they'll bring something to the table. Because
I did, I still do.
But that conversation on social media right now is a whole different conversation I don't want to connect to.
Oh, like the Dwayne Wade piece. Like the 50, he makes Gabrielle Union pay half the bills or something crazy.
I mean, she should.
In a certain sense.
To some extent, right. But I mean, it should be fair and even. Yeah. Even doesn't necessarily mean 50-50.
There you go.
That's what I'm saying.
There you go.
So all I'm saying is, yes, I prefer a woman who is independent, can do on her own, does not need a man to be, for lack of a better term, chivalrous to you all the time, in that I have to walk around you with flower petals and roses and treat you like a, delicate flower. Like, okay.
But what does that say about you?
That means that I want someone who is strong and independent and on equal footing.
But what about
I don't want to be in a power position over a woman. I want it to be an equal arrangement.
What's wrong with the power? Okay, I'm gonna give you something that's really cute floating around on social media. Have y'all seen those little TikTok little videos, and it's just the man staring off with a little cup of coffee or whatever, and he's like, I love my little gangster of a wife. She's a gangster with everybody else, but she's in the in the bedroom under her covers crying because somebody hurt her feelings.
Right.
We are a mixture.
Oh, for sure. It's not all one thing.
You know what I'm saying?
So like, I appreciate, if there's an issue with something, you are the one to pick up the phone and quote unquote cuss them out and make things happen. I don't
do that because I love Jesus. I don't cuss nobody out. You better say it right. You hear that high soprano? You better clear it up. I don't cuss nobody out.
But I mean, it's to me, it is valuable to have. Exactly, it's valuable to have someone who can go and fight a fight when you need them to fight a fight. They're not always running back home. Oh, so and so did something. Go get them for me. And, I don't want that type of woman. That's not the type of woman I want.
Know how to stand up.
One who stands on her own.
Right, I can.
And
I do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, next topic.
Yes. But I just want to say one last thing about that, if you will. Now, something that Chris has not told you all, we actually started our family before we got married. Yeah. So, as normal, in our society, I was the primary caregiver, of our children. And so, it is very hard. That's a very hard load to carry when you are taking care of not only yourself, but you're taking care of children and making sure that everyone is, living right and doing all these things.
Alive and healthy.
They're alive and healthy and I thank God that he gave me wisdom to be a good mother. Even though I was a young mother, right? We started off very young. We were 20 when we had Xavier, but I had a wherewithal and a wisdom that I really believe, I'm grateful that the Lord gave it to me to actually be present and accounted for being his mother, and then for subsequently being Miles's mom too. So it wasn't just, okay, the rigmarole of this is the day. It was, okay, how am I going to teach this child? How am I going to mold him, and come sit on my lap and we do things together kind of thing, right? So it was an emotional situation, and then us being together, having breakups and other breakups and breakups to make up, and it's very hard. But for me, when I saw it, if I can go back to my 24-year-old self, I said, oh wow, I not only do I have a husband, but I have a partner. Not only do I have a partner, but I have a friend. Not only do I have a friend, but I have a lover to help me do all of these things. Yeah. Because at first I was doing them all by myself, or a small portion. When you broken up, it's just pieces. It's fragmented, right? Right. Grandparents are donating their time. You're donating.
You're doing what you can to get through.
You're doing what right. Yeah. But once we jump the broom, it's like, yes, I got somebody to do this thing with. So I think fairly enough, it's supposed to just like that. Now we join forces.
So let me pose an opposite situation for the women that complain, oh, you were doing all this romantic stuff and the blah, blah, blah to get me. And now once you got me, you dropped it all. You're not being romantic no more.
First of all, I never was that woman because he was never that guy. But go ahead.
So that's what I'm talking about. Not necessarily that, okay, now I have a partner and we can partner together. But the fact that you were doing things beforehand that you are now just, I'm not doing it at all.
That's interesting. But I think you're just comparing apples to oranges maybe.
They're both round and sweet and fruit. They're very similar.
What's the next topic?
The next topic is if we had to do it all over again. And let's go through this one rather quickly because we talk about Mexico so much. Okay. And I don't want to get too hung up on Mexico. Okay. But would we move to Mexico again, or would we move into Mexico in the same way again? Because we did it a very specific, maybe some might say reckless way.
Yikes.
Would you do it a different way a second time, or would you go someplace else? Would you just stay in America? Like what? That situation, how would you handle it a second time?
So good
knowing
question.
What you know now.
It's a good question. Yeah. So I think it piggybacks off even, the whole getting before you get married part. It's not that we didn't do our due diligence and research, right? But I think we could have slowed down. And I think that's what a lot of major decisions don't have. Is someone with their foot on the brake to slow it down, or at least, give it, like I think you mentioned before, just making sure we had sold the house. Right. You know what I mean?
Which, hey, everybody giving a round of applause because we just sold it today.
Somebody shake a tambourine.
Today.
Come on, won't he do it?
Yeah. A year and a half.
That was
ups and downs, trials and tribulations.
It was so challenging.
We weathered the storm, but we are
so challenging.
Finally finished with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, please continue.
So I think really just taking time, you know what I mean? Like we really weren't. It's okay to be in a hurry and patient at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think we should have been more patient than leaning more in the hurry.
Yeah, I will say the thing that made it difficult to be patient was the emotional impact. It's hard to sit there and watch your wife be so harshly impacted by the environment that we're living in and not want to do whatever to help her get out of that situation. Because look, at the end of the day, I've said this several times, bank can have that house back.
He sure said that, y'all. He was going to drop the keys off.
You know what? This thing ain't selling.
FedEx, look,
I can't afford to be paying rent and mortgage. Y'all can have these keys. Take it, do what you got to do. Mess up my credit. whatever.
Yeah.
You know, credit is temporary. It recovers.
Rebounds.
It rebounds at some point. And I don't need your American credit in Mexico anyway. They don't care. It does nothing for them here.
Truth be told.
Might mean I can't go back to America for a little while, but it's okay.
Truth be told.
Or I can't get any credit in America for a while. But, you know.
Again,
like prioritizing what's important, which is my wife over a dumb house. It's a lovely house. It was so pretty. And, you know, a rocky financial situation to try and, you know, get us out of. So, you know, if I did it over again, I agree with you. I probably, if we could sustain and be in a good mental space, slow down, get rid of the house first. I might
maybe banked a little bit more money, you know, save.
Bank some more money. Of course, knowing what I know now with my job situation, I don't know if I would have. Well, no, I definitely would have got rid of the house. Yeah, that would have helped the situation. I would have made decisions based on the amount of money I would have been making. So I don't think that necessarily would have stopped me from moving, but it would have changed my decision making. I would have spent less money in certain places.
And make sure we had, you know,
plenty of cushion in the budget, plenty of cushion in the budget, and good coffers and some good savings. But I would still be out of the country. I would probably still be in Mexico. I may have visited more. I don't know. So maybe some more places. Not that I'm unhappy with San Miguel. Love San Miguel. But just, you know, may have seen a couple more places. But yeah, that's pretty much, you know, I wouldn't say I'd make any huge different changes, but for sure, if we could have gotten rid of the house, it would have made things a whole lot smoother and easier, and we would have not wasted literally tens of thousands of dollars. Lots of money.
We're not going to talk about it.
Lots and lots of money. But with that, we're going to take a break.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Do all the things. And when we get back, we will actually talk about that house. Would we have made the decision to get that house, knowing what we know now? Okay. We'll be right back after this break. 797. Taking a second chance, imagining the answer. Life in a different spotlight, cheek to cheek with another dancer. Worth 1 million more chances abandoned, swimming in delusions of your grandeur. And we are back. And we're going to jump into the subject of that house that we just sold. When we were buying that house, there was no conception of moving to Mexico, of leaving the country. Zilch. It was dream house. It was forever home. It
Super
was
dreamy, y'all.
Imagining grandchildren running through the house, up and down the beautiful staircase, across the hardwood floors.
It was a historical home.
Playing with the pocket doors.
What? Come on, pocket.
Running around the huge patio deck, wraparound porch situation. Yeah. But it didn't really materialize that way. And I think when you make a decision to buy a home, I said this to somebody the other day. I was talking to a coworker. And like anytime you buy a home, my thinking now is that it should always be a business decision. It should be an investment. And I don't think we necessarily bought that house with that as the number one priority. You know. We bought that because we were just going to have it and we were going to die in it. And, you know, the value would eventually catch up to it. The neighborhood was in the grips of gentrification. As we said in the previous episode. It was on the upswing, right? So we were kind of getting in early. And hopefully we're going to be, you know, part of rebuilding this neighborhood, bringing it back to life. And probably gentrification probably isn't the best word for that. It was revitalization. More of revitalization. It wasn't necessarily, you know, kicking out culture. But yeah, if I think about it now, I don't think I would have bought that house knowing what I know now. Just because of how hard it was to get rid of the house. Okay. Not fully understanding. I mean, part of it was the market just fell apart in real estate in general. But also knowing that, you know, life can change in an instant. So this house needs to be something that can be quickly unloaded if you need to unload. And that house was not a quick house to unload. It was, you know, beautiful house, literally 100 years old, built in 1920, historical, you know, really kept up and renovated,
original
really
penny
nice.
tile floors and pocket doors. And wavy glass.
And for those of us who watch HGTV, we love those houses. Right. But there aren't enough of us out there that love those houses and that love those houses in that particular neighborhood. Mm-hmm. Because if the rest of the neighborhood ain't together, it's a very niche house in a niche place. Yeah. Which eventually will catch up. The place will be less niche and it'll be more, accessible and more valuable. Mm-hmm. But knowing what I know now, I would not have bought that house. I would have bought something easier to get rid of if I needed to get rid of it. Mm-hmm. And just not even thinking that, you kind of think your situation is always stable. Right. To some extent. There's no way we're going to kind of, be back where we were before. Yeah. But life would be like, guess what? Mm-hmm. Y'all going to leave the country. Mm-hmm. Your job
or one of you could lose a job.
One of you could lose a country. Like, there's all types of situations you can go through that could change your financial state where you might have to get rid of this house. Mm-hmm. So being more mindful of that, I don't think I would have bought that house. Okay. Though I enjoyed every minute we spent in that house. Yeah. I can't complain. Yeah. But I know how hard it was to get rid of. And if I had that to do over again, I wouldn't do it the same way. Yeah. Yeah. It's a monster of a question. Because I don't know how to take emotion out of that kind of a purchase though. Yeah. Honestly, and to be quite honest, as it relates to that specific house, part of the emotional connection to it was that house was built during a time and in a place and space where we were not supposed to own anything like that. Right. We maybe would have been the servants in that house, not the owners. Right. So a piece of us was almost like reclaiming it. You know what I mean? It's one of those Main Street houses, y'all. Yeah. Those Main Street house, like, oh my goodness, we got one. And so there was a piece of pride in that wow, we did that. I mean, it's pride, but it's also a little bit of vengeance to it. Okay, I can see that. There is a little bit of get back. There is, I think, an emotion to it that you probably should not have in the equation. Right. Check your motivation. Right. What's the motivation for buying a house? Yeah. And those were improper motivations. For sure. Yeah. So you're saying you would make the same decision? Knowing what I see, again, the hindsight question. Right. We gone away to Mexico. No, I wouldn't have bought it. Dang nabbit. But no, because no, the answer is no. Mm-hmm. And not that I would not have wanted to purchase a house, but when it comes to real estate, this is the one thing that really has irritated me. It just seems like it's easy for other people, if not to buy the property, rent it out, sell it. It just seems like they can flip. And maybe that's just too much TV watching. Mm-hmm. I really don't know. But it just seems like when it comes to us, and I don't mean us as in a particular group, I mean us as in the two of us. We don't pick the right houses. No. We don't have that mind to pick the right community, the right timing or whatever it is. So we, had we been in let's say a structured community or where we were in Salisbury, North Carolina, had we been 6 blocks up west or north, I can't remember if it's going north or south. Anyway, had we gone 6 blocks one way or 6 blocks another way, I think we would have had a good ROI. Closer to the golf course. And the brand new park. Or lake. And literally, like, both of those were only a few blocks away.
I'm talking about y'all literally.
That few blocks made a big difference.
It made a huge difference, right? Yeah. So that's the kind of thing, I just wish some things could work more on our side, know. But no, I would not have purchased that house. Yeah. And that's why I say, like, have a business mind about it.
as much as you can, try and take the emotional, part out of it.
Yeah. Does it meet your needs? Does it have the space that you need or want?
Right.
The communities is safe enough for you that you can afford.
Right.
And
is it in a desirable area?
Is it growing?
Right.
Those kind of things. Like what's on the horizon?
Right.
And like I was talking to good sister friend from church, and I was like, how did you buy? How did you know to buy in that neighborhood, or whatever? And she said she was looking for a home. This was years ago in the Charlotte area, Noda, in North Davidson area, right? And she says, I was, house hunting and looking at this one community, and she heard the young lady in the open house office saying that the light rail is coming this way.
Oh, well, yeah, there you go.
So she's like, ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
So if we're talking about growth, if a college is expanding, hospitals are being built, roads being built, right?
Infrastructure is coming,
yeah. Light rail is coming. Oh, okay.
Yep.
Then I can see some excess coming, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's things like that. And I think we made a good decision for that purpose. But,
right.
But that kind of the growth that's going on in Salisbury, I think is a little too slow.
It's a very slow growth.
It's slow growth. They're not going to build a light rail on Main Street. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think there was one before, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's not going to come. It's not, and it's not connecting like major universities. That's, you know what I mean? Like the growth is different in Salisbury than it is in Charlotte proper.
Yeah, for sure.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I would have passed, though that house was the bomb.
So next topic I'm gonna run through is children.
What about them?
Would you? And by the time this comes out, you would have seen us talking with our two boys.
Love them to pieces.
Would you have made the decision to have children, knowing what you know now?
Absolutely.
And would you have made the decision to stop having children when you stopped?
That's a good question.
Would you want to have more children?
I do want more.
Sorry, not going to happen.
Can we adopt?
No, we can't.
Oh.
No. There's a couple of little stuffed animals on the shelf. Just treat them like babies. Just rock them.
Or go get a little doggy dog. A little
I don't even want a dog. I don't want a cat. I don't want nothing else I have to feed. Sorry.
You're so annoying. I absolutely love being a mother. That is in my DNA. I'm going to mother somebody. Yeah. Somebody get mothered.
Yeah.
Smothered in all of it.
Definitely some smother.
You're welcome. I love it. Yeah. I would have taken a next year, sir, that kind of a thing. I just think, for all intents and purposes, it would have been better to have been more mature.
Just wait a couple of years.
To be less in debt.
Yeah.
To be a little bit more stable.
Have some couple time.
Yeah.
Some finishing of educations.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfection, if you will. Not really perfection.
Yeah, not perfection, but being better prepared.
Let's be prepared.
Yeah.
Let's be prepared. For real.
And I will say there's something I'm proud of our oldest son, Xavier, is I feel like putting all the ducks in the right order. Got married first. Finishing multiple degrees first, making sure financially they're stable before they even decide to have kids, and really getting some time together as a couple before you become 3 and 4 and have that dynamic. Because so many of us have children first or so soon that we don't really understand how to build that relationship between the two of us and make that strong before you start bringing other people into that relationship that you have to take care of. So yeah, I'm with you on that. I would definitely, better timing. And don't you always kind of think, what if you had a girl kind of a thing. But I don't think I would have wanted a third child.
Oh, I wanted me a girl with some Afro puffs. And this imagine us combine. Oh my God. Oh,
I mean, it would have been fun, but also girls are a whole different thing.
You're welcome.
As a dad, I don't want no little boys coming around the house.
Oh, my Lord. You'd have been fine.
With a shotgun. There it is.
I wanted me a girl. Oh, I wanted me a girl. And I will say this too. Miles is doing a good job as well.
He is as well.
Miles finished his education, that first leg of the race, and also working hard, right? Paying his bills, I think.
And has the right mindset. Like, he's looking for a wife. He's not looking for a girlfriend or toss around, like nothing. No. I want somebody who's for real. Yeah.
And no debt. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So it's a blessing. Both of them are doing a great job building their foundation.
We did something right.
Oh, won't he
We ain't mess them up.
Thank God.
Not totally. I'm sure they got some issues, but not totally messed up.
Oh, thank God. But no, I just would have taken more time. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So on that note, we have taken enough of your time.
Hey.
And we will see you guys next week.
Bye.
Like, share, subscribe.
Please and thank you.
Cuídense.
Buy us a cup of coffee, a little love offering.
Taza de café? Yeah.
Taraza. No,
Taza.
No, Taza.
Cup.
Taza de café. Taza de café.
I've been learning.
All right, good job.
Thank you. Taraza de The coffee terrace? No.
Ew, thank y'all for
That's what I've been looking at you funny at the coffee shop. Dame una taza de café, porfa.
You're a weirdo.
Ma'am?
Y'all, thanks for hanging in there with us. We appreciate you. Share, please.
And we'll see y'all next week.
See y'all next time.
Peace out. This is the 7997 Podcast, your home for raw and honest conversation, featuring Chris and Jackie, with new episodes every Sunday, wherever you get your podcasts.